What is up, everybody? Welcome to day 36 of the All About How podcast from growingau.com. I am your host, John Knott, ready to bring you a value-packed episode as always. Kind of an interesting episode for you today. We're going to be talking about a certain level of success that I think only the rare few will ever come to achieve in this lifetime. And it was something I've been thinking about a little bit recently, and let's just talk about basically what does it mean to achieve this level of success, because it really means that you've done something very specific with your work. So we're going to go ahead, roll that intro. I'm giving you a quick update on the Growing AU show, and then we're going to jump right on into that episode. So stick around, stay tuned. This is All About How. Let's jump into it.
It's all about how in 2020 we're going to leave the world a better place than we found it.
So as I promised, one little quick update on the Growing AU show. The last piece of the show that we are waiting on is currently in transit somewhere around the Memphis, Tennessee area. I believe it is in transit from the FedEx location in Tennessee. So hopefully it'll be here within the next couple days. My fingers are crossed. And hopefully by either tomorrow or Tuesday, that last piece of the puzzle will be here and we'll be ready to put the whole thing together and bring it out and show you guys. Very excited for it. Stay tuned. More to come. All right, let's jump on into the topic we're going to be talking about today. So this conversation came up with a topic I was talking about with my dad, and him and I were having a conversation about being successful and how when you become successful to a certain degree, how your work, the title of your work really no longer matters. And what really just your work is defined by the author. So let me kind of explain what I mean by that. In the music world, there are highly successful composers and highly renowned composers. And these composers obviously have titles to their pieces. But what will happen is a lot of times when you are talking to people who normally are in the industry, because they need to know what you're talking about these pieces, most of the time the piece's actual title is synonymous with just using the composer's name, because the composer's name has become so synonymously attached to the piece that it's just interchangeable. A couple examples of this are a very famous piece of music called Lincolnshire Posy, often referred to as the Granger because it was written by Percy Grainger, one of his more famous pieces, and so a lot of times people will just refer to that as the Granger. Holst is another very popular composer, has his first suite and his second suite. Nobody says first suite and second suite. It's just Holst 1 or Holst 2. I think another way you can look at it is when you ask somebody, hey, what are you reading? And they say, oh, Tolkien. Okay, so we pretty much know that you're reading Lord of the Rings, but Tolkien is a just easily and commonly socially acceptable answer to that question. What are you reading? I'm reading Hemingway. Does it matter which one? Not really, because if it's Hemingway, it's scholarly work. It's going to be considered renowned. Same with what are you reading? Emerson. What are you reading? Thoreau. What are you reading? Seneca. The list goes on and on and on. What are you watching? A Tarantino film. Oh, well, I'm in. I don't even care which one it is. I'm coming right over. The list goes on and on. And there's a number of highly successful people that have achieved that level of success where their name is just synonymous with good work and their name is just interchangeable with excellence. And I think that's pretty cool. And I think that requires a certain level of incredible craftsmanship to be able to achieve that. And someone that I don't feel that has achieved it yet, even though I think she completely deserves to have achieved it, but for whatever reason, I just don't feel like we've gotten to the point as a society where we openly say it, is when someone asks you, hey, what are you reading? Very few people will say, oh, I'm reading Rowling or I'm reading J.K. Rowling. Very few people I feel like are going to say that. Most people are still going to refer to it as Harry Potter. But J.K. Rowling is somebody who I feel like in our lifetime could develop that level of high success and high regard of what are you reading? J.K. Rowling. Okay, so it's good, right? We don't have to even question really which one it is. We kind of just know what it is that you're referring to. And oftentimes it does kind of refer to, if you say that you're reading Tolkien, if you say that you're reading, in this case, J.K. Rowling, if you say that you're watching Tarantino, most of the time you're probably going to be referring to more the magnum opus type pieces. You're going to be referring to maybe Pulp Fiction, maybe Hateful Eight, Inglourious Bastards, any of the other ones. If you're talking about Tarantino, maybe you're talking about Tolkien. Okay, you're referring to Lord of the Rings, right? If you're talking about J.K. Rowling, if we're going to put her name in there, you're talking about Harry Potter, most likely. So, yeah, it does kind of refer to the magnum opus pieces, but it doesn't matter, because when you say that you're taking in content from one of these people, it really just kind of, the value in that is just intrinsic with the name, right? It's like what you're doing is already justified because this person has person's name rather has a socially accepted value to it. And really, the point is not talking about how to achieve that level of success. I don't personally know. I'm not going to sit here and claim like, oh, this is the proven formula to achieve that high level of success. I think that would be foolish to think that there is any sort of formula for that level of success. I think that just comes to extreme passion and dedication over an extended period of time. And I think it's something to look towards. Like, what is the idea of, and I wrote a blog post on this. It's on the Growing AU page. You can check it out. It's called Lessons I Learned from Taking an Acting Course. You can go and check that out over on the website. And one of the things I talked about in that is how there's always more to learn and there's always more to do. And I feel like this specifically here, this case of having your name be synonymous with success and excellence, shows that there's always more to do. When you think that you've made it, when you think that you've done enough, when you think that you have performed adequately, there's always another step. And until you get to that step, I mean, there's always more to be progressing on. Whether or not it's a healthy step to get to, whether or not that people need to achieve that, or that is some sort of marker for, a successful life, I don't think that's necessarily true. I don't think people need to achieve half of that to justify the fact that they lived a purposeful and successful life. It looks different to everybody. But we're just referring to here that if you are producing content in the public space, that is something that is generally considered as the best of the best. And it's something to just kind of look towards as this aura of what could be and what can be if we work hard enough to achieve it. And I think it's inspiring in a way. But I don't know. I found that was interesting. And tell me, I want to hear from you guys. Who do you think are some artists, creators, business people of our time whose success and creation are just synonymous with the name, where it doesn't even matter what movie, what book, what program or whatever it is you're talking about, or which one you're specifically watching or reading or ingesting. It's just simply, oh, you're watching X film by that person, or you're reading that person's book, or you're doing this or that regarding to that person. It just automatically has value. So tell me, who do you think in our age has that level of value? Do you think there's a formula to achieve that level of value? Do you think that there's a way for us to, kind of ensure that we're going to reach that level of success? Or do you feel like there's kind of an X factor involved in that? I'm interested to hear what you have to say on it. And also, do you feel like that's something that people who are trying to produce public content in a creative type way, is that something they should strive for? Is that healthy? Is that a healthy goal? Or should the end goal just to be, I want to create the best thing for me, and I want to create and express because I need to create and express? How do you feel about that? Do you feel like there is a second part of the creative process that isn't met when you don't receive the response for your work, both negative or positive? So let's talk about that. I talked about that in an earlier podcast of the two parts of the creative process, both the need to create and the need to express, but also the need to share the creation. I believe that it's a kind of a symbiotic relationship between those two parts, that when one is out of whack, the other one can, begin to falter, right? Because we can create as much as we want, but if we're not able to kind of share it out with the world, I feel like that's half of the creation. Half creation is because we need to create it for our own mental well-being, but the other half of creation is because we want to share it with people. So I feel like people whose excellence is directly marked with their name, I feel like have done well, both creation and the sharing. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about whether or not that is a healthy part of the creative process, to chase that level of admiration for your work, or whether or not simply just creating for the sake of creating is enough. I think it's going to be different per person. I think both are really, highly understandable. I would say that if you can achieve the level of just being able to create because you want to create and you're not worried about anything else, that's the best one. But I also feel like that's the one that takes the dedication and the hard work to eventually achieve, because I think it goes a little bit against what is just natural for human beings. We want to show what we created. We want to have the social acceptance. So I don't know. Let's talk about that. You can go ahead and comment it if you're on a commenting platform. Shoot us over a DM over on Instagram. We have podcast at growingau.com. You want to shoot us an email and we'll talk about them. If I get any responses, we'll bring them up on the show and talk a little bit about what all that means. So definitely send us an email, send us a DM on Instagram, message me, john.au on Twitter. Do what you gotta do. Just get in touch with me. There's plenty of different ways, and we will go ahead and go from there as far as talking about whether or not that second part of the creative process, whether or not that need to share it is beneficial. So let's talk about that. See what you guys think about it. I'm interested. Let me give you a quick fact of the day, and I will send you on your merry way. Now, this fact actually is a particularly good one because I'm a personally big fan of Toblerone chocolate. Big shout out to my buddy Ethan. He got me on, kind of stuck on that. So, Ethan, thanks, man. Appreciate that. Toblerone chocolate is awesome. And if you've never had Toblerone chocolate, I highly suggest that you get your hands on some. But this is actually an interesting fact relating to it. 25% of all of it, which, I mean, hey, 25% of a widely sold product is a lot. But 25% of all Toblerone chocolate is sold in duty-free airport shops. Who knows why, but that's kind of interesting. It's really good, and you can pretty much find it anywhere. Any of your local grocery stores or big box stores will sell it and stuff like that. Convenience stores. Toblerone, check it out. It's definitely gonna be worth your time. So, with that being said, everybody, hope everyone enjoyed the episode. Let's get the conversation started, and I will talk to you all tomorrow on day 37 of the All About How podcast from growingau.com. Everyone have a very highly successful day.